We went on to this special trip at the end of last month, the end of October, beginning of November, and we've had so many people ask us about it that we thought we put it into a presentation, as it's not something that we can explain in 5 minutes. I mean, the Journey of Lights is a trip that was offered to all the members of the Crystal Circle, which are the people that are being mentored directly by Roger Hamilton, and also to the investors or in one of his companies. So we had about 30 people that went on the trip, plus the team. So we were just short of 40. But what I want to say before going onto the presentation is the great occasion that this trip was, and not in terms of just the places that we visited, because we did an awful lot in 9 days, but the kind of people that we managed to meet and connect with during this trip. It was a truly amazing experience. So there are lots of slides to go through, so I will go quite quickly through them, otherwise we'll be here all night. Okay, so without further ado, let's start to have a look at some of them. This is the way that the trip was organized. Okay, so we're organized so each day we will go through one different chakra, but at the same time as the chakra, the image on the right, for those of you that are not familiar with it, is the Wealth Dynamics Lighthouse. So each day we will go through a different level of the wealth spectrum. So what we need to learn depends on obviously the kind of level that we're at professionally with our work and with our business. So as the lighthouse is structured, obviously you need a strong base to be able to build to the upper levels. So even if your business is very advanced but you don't have strong foundations, it is likely to fall at some stage. That's why we start from the bottom. The first level that we look at really is the number 2, the red level, which is the what's called the red level, which is the called the victim. Okay, which is people that cannot, basically they have more money going out every month than the money that comes in. Okay, and at the same time is the red is connected to the root chakra. So this is not really. This is the kind of like the pre-arrival, pre-journey of light day in a way, because this is not even the first day. Is the arrival night. So some people arrive. Some people like Alex arrive the next day, not due to his. to his planning, but for things that say happened along the way. Okay, but you missed the best part, Alex. Okay, so what we were thrown into as soon as we arrived is basically a Bollywood dance class. Okay, so what happened is that we had to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and this is a lesson for each entrepreneur, because when you're employed by somebody, they tell you what time you need to turn up, what you need to do every day, who do you need to report to. When you are an entrepreneur, nothing of this happens, and there are things that happen every day that you got to be ready for. So that's why this is a good analogy of hey, sorry, excuse me, but this is Gloria hosting. Come, Gloria, come in. Oh yeah, that's how I hug. How are you?
Yeah,
fantastic. For those of you that don't know Gloria started the whole process as she was the previous London city leader, and we got involved with the city leader project thanks to Gloria. So it's really fitting that you are here tonight, Gloria, to celebrate the first year of our stewardship. Yeah, the first year of our stewardship of the city leader position. So let's say we're saying that this is a great analogy for the behavior of an entrepreneur. So you have to be ready for anything that life throws at you, and you have to come out smelling of roses, as they say. Okay, and exactly. So we had for those 90 minutes of this, and we were pretty sweaty and exhausted by the end of it. And this is something that we wanted to. Peter, would you mind starting? There's a little video. Would you mind? We put the young ones there to show you what the final result was, because. Come on.
We had to learn and practice on our own in front of the whole room.
Now you have to imagine the music, but oh yeah, you can hear it.
Which one's you looking?
Okay, so we had to do we were drilled for 90 minutes. At the end, we had to do, that was basically a little competition. Then, the numbers get whittled down until there was a final winner. But it was a really fun evening, and it was a way of breaking down the barrier and getting us to know each other, and in a really fun and a really fun way. It was exhausting, wasn't it? Yes, we do. But I have declined to put it on the slide. I also had. It's not here. I've been very kind. I've been very kind to other members of the team that were on that. Let's put it that way. So. This is. I will pass the baton in a second to Alex. They will be talking to you through the first 3 days. You'll be amazing. I mean, as I said, we have about 100 slides to show you tonight, so we will have to go through them quite quickly. But it is amazing just by when Katrina and I were putting together these slides, how many things we have done in 9 days. And it was. I mean, we'd done about 100 slides, and we had to cut out a lot of stuff. It was just too much. But what I wanted to, before I pass on to Alex to walk you through the first 3 days, I want to tell you about what my big takeout was from this whole experience, and it made me think of, how often do we really connect to people? In our daily life, you're always running, we're always going through to the next meeting, we're talking to the next customer. When do we take the time of actually really, really talking to somebody and not just finding out what they do and what their business like, or what the next bit of business is going to come from? And this is what came through from this trip for me, because we were about 30 people, so the number was quite small, and it was really nice because we got to talk to everybody. I mean, there's 5 of us here on this trip. Gillian was on the trip with us as well, although she's not part of the presentation this evening, but you will be on some of the pictures, so it's great that you can make it tonight as well. But it was really good to get to know somebody deeply and being able to call them my friends, because at the end of the day we all do business with people that we like, but if we don't get to that point, to the point of them getting to know us and us getting to know them, any business that we build is not built on strong grounds. So what I really took from it is that we really need to be of service, start thinking about the people that are in front of us, see how we can help them, and it's only then that we can ask something from them. We need to give first to be able to receive after. As one of our idols, Jim Rohn, one of his famous quotes was, "If you help enough people, get what they want, you can have everything that you want. But the helping comes first. So with this, I will like to introduce you to Alex, one of the people that was with us on the trip. And also, although he's very shy, not really, he's a real life. We had quite a few special people, but he's a real life dance champion. Yes. So, if any of you want to learn some ballroom dancing, well, he's the person to ask. Well, no, the tango is a new thing, isn't it? Anyway, let's see you. That's the clicker.
Okay.
Use the down button.
How many microphones do you need me to use?
As many as we can, because sometimes we're having trouble with the...
Yeah, okay.
Oops,
Right. No. Oh, gosh.
okay, the click is the down button.
Okay, good evening. How are you guys? So when we got on this trip, we were asked the question, by the way, it's speaking to me. I don't know if we're having a conversation. Luca, is that normal? Yeah, the microphone is speaking to me. Okay, fine. So we were asked the question, what are we expecting from the trip at the beginning of it? And I wondered, what are you guys expecting from this presentation tonight? You wanna see the sightseeing that we've seen, or you want to see what we felt, or you want to see what we learned, or hear a combination? Okay, good. Well, I thought so. And yes, so the Journey of Lights, that's the title. But I'm going to start with something that comes before the light, and that's the first lesson that we learned. So, does anybody know here what is faster than light? The thought. Okay, good. Any other takers? Time? Okay, well, yeah. Cool. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's darkness. Why is darkness faster than light? Because darkness is already there before the light arrives. Okay? So that was something that we had about an hour and a half debate with the whole group on one of the days. And this was part of the experience of the journey. And things like, I probably can speak for another 2 hours if I start telling you all the stuff that we learned, but I'm just going to mention them, and after that, if you guys want to come and speak to us, I'm happy to sort of give you more details. But the other thing is, can you actually compress time, or can you extend time? Can you manage time? And the answer is yes, you can. How? That's another 3.5 hours of an afternoon session that we had with the whole group. While we were not sitting there and just debating about life and about these kind of things, but we had also an experience such as in the morning we went and saw one of the most famous, so it's about contrast. We saw one of the most famous, is that here? Oh, right, okay, so sorry, I'm a dancer, you know, I just need to move, right? So, okay, cool, still. So we saw in one of the days in the morning, we saw one of the most amazing and love-related, passionate and compassion-related places, which is the most expensive palace made for the sake of love and for a man who loves a woman and he wanted to give her the most beautiful palace in the whole world, and still is for quite a few tens and hundreds of years. And then you being in this kind of place, and then you hear the whole story, and then just across the road you go and then you get served the food by a lady that was a victim of acid attack because she couldn't give, after the third birth, she couldn't give a son to her mother-in-law. And that was what the journey was about. It wasn't about the sightseeing. It wasn't about what we could do, what we couldn't do, but it was about what each of us can take from the whole experience and what we would feel. And the most special thing about the journey was that actually everybody went through exactly the same experience, and everybody took completely different thing out of it. And this is the power of minds and energy and experience, and when those minds open, and when we all feel as part of a whole unit. And I think, I don't know how much of you guys have been involved in the community, but I think this is what makes the community, and what Roger does, and what Luca and what everybody that is supporting in the background does so special. So so that just the thought and relation of what we are about here today, and what we experienced in that journey, which was just on folds above. Now, if Luca allows me, I'm just going to go back. Oh, sorry. Can I go back in the slides, please? This one. So, although we started with every day being dedicated to one of the chakras, we actually had the first day, which was called the Black Day. And if you can see, it's none of the chakras. And it's related to darkness, which is why I started with the story about darkness. So, darkness is related to where everything starts. Darkness is related to silence. And this was the underlying message of when we went, and we were in the middle of Diwali, which was the festival of lights, and everything is sparkling. But at the same time, what was really observed is there was some calmness, and there was some silence, and people were in a festive mood, but that was in a silent and calm and very peaceful way. And that was the first thing that we really observed, and we started thinking about it. How can something be so beautiful and so mesmerizing, and at the same time so calm and so peaceful? So that was one of the first thought-provoking things that we had. And a bit more about the Black Day, which is, oh, I think I crashed it. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. I can go on. So,
Let me have a go with that. See if
oh. Yes. Okay. So these were some of the things that we experienced during the Diwali. You can see the beauty of here, right? So, oh, gosh. Okay. Where's that? So this is Mahatma Gandhi's place where he was cremated, and that's where his remainings are there. So that's the memorial. This is how we were all dressed during the Diwali, which was quite special. Everybody in color, everybody in the festive mood, and it wasn't just us, it was everybody, almost everybody on the street. People were celebrating. And as you can see, there's loads going on, and India is a busy place. However, during that day, you could still, even in that busy place, you could still feel that silence, which was very, very special to observe. Then we had a surprise. After a yoga session, we were getting on these crazy, what was the name of these? Yeah, whatever it is, yes. So I think it has one rider and 2 passengers, and I happened to be on the one with the craziest driver, who started last and finished second. And by the end of the trip, my head was already immune to any sort of concussions and all sorts of roll bars and anything that I could hit with my head. But it was great, it was brilliant. Which brings me to, I don't know which slide is that, but I'm just moving because we don't have a lot of time. This is still Diwali. Brings me to the next day, which was about the red chakra. And this is one of the biggest takeaways that we had on that day, because after the darkness starts, we've got the beginning, and that's where the actual experience on Earth and the actual experience on an energy level, but also an existing level starts. And the red chakra is the Muladhara. Is that the right one? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So the Muladhara chakra is the base level of the energy. So we could call it the basic existence. And what that entails, and the things that we learned about that day and about that chakra, is that the beginning after the darkness is all about breaking through. But what do you need to break through? Well, you break through the suffering. So everything starts with suffering. And if we quote some of the quotes that probably everybody in the room knows, every success starts with a failure. And I can go on and on and on with different quotes from different times of the whole history of humanity where people are following that principle where something starts with a suffering, or suffering probably is a strong word, but something starts with a difficult, and then the path and the success is how you find a way to enable yourself to break through. And that's what also is related to businesses. If we go back to the lighthouse, we've got the breakthrough. So from somebody who is in the darkness, somebody who doesn't have customers, or somebody who is in the minus at the end of every month, suddenly you've got a business and you know what value you're delivering to your customers, and you've got your first customer. So you are adding value already. And then the more interesting bit was, now let's see what's here. So it's about blessings as well, and it's about people believing in something that is beyond them. So suffering and the Muladhara is related to that basic level where everybody needs to go through a certain type of difficulty or a series of difficulties in order to be able to break through. But then the lower level of understanding of that, or the deeper level of understanding of that is actually why am I going through a difficulty? And the reason why you're going through a difficulty is because you have to go through something to be able to understand first yourself and to understand your purpose. And then once you've understood your purpose and then you felt your purpose, you are able to break through. Because what we had as a comparison was, well, we always have, or sometimes we have the clouds above our heads, but that doesn't change the fact that beyond those clouds there is always a bright blue sky. And if we choose to focus on the clouds, we'll never know about the sky. If we choose to look at the sky or imagine the sky and we focus on the sky, well, we already are above the clouds. And it's always about a perception where if you hit the clouds, well, you're not going to crash, because they're almost an image in our minds. So the Muladhara chakra and the first day or the first level of our enlightenment journey is really about being able to go beyond ourselves. And what that means as a conclusion is really all comes down to the desires. And as long as everybody desires to achieve something for themselves, or they are focused on what they want and what they want to be, you will continue going through that same level of energy and experience. And at the minute you get beyond that and you start seeing yourself as part of a bigger thing where you contribute first to that thing around you, that's where you start breaking through. And then you go on to the next 3 levels, next 2 levels, which were the next 2 days, which was again just going through that journey of I'm breaking through. So I desire and I want, then I break through, and then I start doing. And then after the doing, I start contributing beyond myself. And that's what the first 3 or 4 chakras are about. So I'm not going to go into details of all the rest of the days, but I'm just going to mention something that I was asked, and every one of us was asked at the last day, and it was, what did you take from this trip? And again, I can speak probably about 2-3 hours of what I took from this trip, but the main thing was we were asked to come up with a word for 2020, which is describing what I want to bring in 2020 not for myself, but for the things that I'm going to be doing, and those will be the guidance for what I do during 2020. And because that was something I wrote a few weeks ago, I'm going to read it to you, probably just a short thing, a short part of it. So the question was, what would you take away from this trip, and what would that word be for you in 2020? And my word was enlightenment. And of course, enlightenment sounds really cool, right? It's like, wow, something beyond us, and something, of course, it's going to have to be cool. But then my ambition from the trip was not to be cool or to be somewhere in my mind where we cannot reach, because that was the kind of underlining message of, we know Buddha and we know enlightened people and all that stuff, and it's almost like a mirage there. But what I thought, but hang on a second, if this is created for all of us and we're part of the whole thing, why can we not bring it into here? Why can we not do it here? Why cannot do it outside on the street, or where we work, or where we do? Why do I need to go and change completely my life in order to be able to contribute? Can I not just bring in some of those principles in order to be able to contribute in what I actually do currently at the moment? And how that's going to evolve is a different thing. So for me, enlightenment was each moment when one manages to raise awareness and wisdom to a level that enables them to break through the clouds and see and touch the clear sky. Enlightenment is also in remembering about the impermanence of life and everything around us, and being able to be fearless through recognizing illusion from real. And again, if you think about the clouds and you think about the sky, what is real and what is illusion is in your mind, and you are the one to choose. And the last one, there's a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to read everything. The last one is the biggest what and how for the coming 12 months is finding the way to keep growing the wisdom, awareness, compassion, and observance. And when I say observance, it means learning how to be the observer of what happens with all of us and with each other and around us, and be able to detach so that we can see it as a movie rather than as being the actor in the movie. And really observance in the material and busy world that we are living every day in, day out, and finding the way how to make that different for us and for the people around us. And with this, thank you very much for listening. If you want to talk, I've got more time. Is it? Oh, you want the slides? Okay. Okay, so quickly, flipping through the slides. So we had a blessing at the end of Diwali.
I have mine on.
Have you got yours? Yes, yeah, I've got mine as well. So with the blessed, it was, again, a long story there, but God Lakshmi, Goddess Lakshmi, she's the goddess of money and sustainability and all that stuff. And we experienced the true blessing of how they do it. It was mesmerizing, it was weird, and it was blessed. So it was a great experience. Am I going forward or backwards here? Yeah? Okay, cool. So that is the Red Fort. The Akshardham, yeah, which was one of the red stuff.
Alex, just go forward.
Is it not? Okay. Well, we visited this place, and this place is where the king was living, and we saw the open plan bedrooms and where the king was observing the.
No.
Was that not?
That's the Red Fort.
Okay. Well, I'm confusing it here. You see, I haven't seen the slides, but it was one of the palaces that we visited. Okay. And to be honest, it had no. This was probably the least meaning in terms of the experience and in terms of what the trip was really about. But it was one of the impressive stuff that we saw in terms of what a human hand can build back in the days.
Coming out of this was that they actually showed us that the Indian culture 2,000 years ago was doing cosmetic surgery and all sorts of things that we see today. 2,000 years ago, the Indian culture
That wasn't the other one.
was
That wasn't the other one.
advanced, and this place was actually built. It came about as the dream of one person, and I don't comment how long it took to build.
5 years.
5 years, but it was one person, and that was the theme that we had this particular day. We had Gandhi, who, one person had changed the world or changed the lives of millions of Indians, and then we had this temple, which was the dream of one person that became reality.
And it was it 15 or 13 million of man hours that went into the building? 3 million. Yeah. Who has not read their slides? Yes. So, lunch at a very impressive view, kind of top roof of India. The views were not as impressive as in London, but the experience was great. And it was again about reflecting. If you can see the faces, it's about reflecting on what we've seen and absorbing the story. Again, so this is the India Gate. So the arch that was called India Gate, which was built at the entrance where the king was coming to Delhi. It was the New Delhi Gate, or not India Gate.
India Gate.
India Gate. Yes. Sorry, I'm terrible with the names, as you can see. Gandhi's cremation platform. We went through that, and the whole experience with the motorcycles. This is after yoga. That was about. Am I? Okay, good. So this was about 2.5 hours after I landed, and we went to yoga at 6:30 a.m. and it was great. I think we had an amazing time there. So going forward, why do you have this one? Honestly, I don't understand this. If you ask me to explain that, neither this. So this is another level, right? So again, the dancing. After the blessing, we had some dancing and quite authentic Indian dancing. This was one of the trips. Oh, this was to Taj Mahal. So that was a trip on the train to Taj Mahal. This is the Taj Mahal, the entrance in towards the actual palace. So it's the tomb. Well, it was a palace and then turned into a tomb. No, it was always a tomb because he.
The Taj Mahal was built as a mausoleum for the beloved wife of one of the Maharajas.
But initially, he didn't know that she's going to die.
Yep. It's built as a tomb.
Okay. Well, mixing of the stories, as you can see. Did you have another different guide there?
No.
We had two different, right? So that's the actual tomb, right? And tell me where I need to stop and hand it over to you. That sounds like your slide. And again, the marble, this is created of marble, and the marble that is there is carved with stones, with precious stones, and every single plate of marble in this palace is created by hand and carved by hand, and you've got the precious stones onto each piece of marble there. And after visiting the not palace, the tomb, we visited the shop where they still are using exactly the same technique, which was used by the followers of the same families that were working on the actual construction of the tomb. So it was quite impressive. Yes. Yeah. It was quite impressive. Then the interesting story about that was, this was a white marble plant for the wife of the king, and don't ask me to pronounce his name. But then he, on the other side of the river, at the back of the tomb, he had the plan to build his own tomb from black marble, but he never really got to the point of being able to start it. So it's just a bit of a myth there. But honestly, it's stunning. Just seeing that live is just amazing and heart breathtaking. That's still part of the whole courtyard. And this is what I referred to earlier. So we saw the Taj Mahal, compassion, love, beauty, and then we were served by ladies who were victims of acid attacks in a cafe where a young journalist decided that he wants to voice this up and say and start helping these ladies and these victims, and they are helping them to overcome the mental challenge that they're going through, and then finding job and work for them so they can start new life. And that was probably one of the most powerful moments that we all had. And speaking of powerful moments, I think it's time for me to cut and leave some talking to Julie.
Okay. Thank you.
Our creator.
I need this.
And you need this. Thank you.
Stick it on.
We're going to destroy the...
Oh, that's okay.
There we go.
Right. Okay. So my word that I took away from me at the end of the trip was energetic. And I've been very energetic since we come back, to the point where I haven't really looked at my photos because it's been too busy. I've been doing too many things because I'm too energetic. But I will take you through. Is everybody all right to see these next couple of slides? Because these are the pictures of the women that were serving in this cafe. So if you don't want to see it, please look away. But what was interesting with this, down arrow, that one. What was interesting with this, that we were a multinational group, and the journalist was talking to us about acid attacks in India and how most of these women were actually attacked. One of them was attacked by their mother. One was attacked by their mother-in-law. And these attacks happen in villages with no electricity, no light, no telephone, no nothing. And they're covered in acid. So you sort of have to semi-imagine what goes on. But what came out of this was that one of our group didn't actually know that there are more acid attacks in the UK than there are in India. So this happens across the world. And I think one of the most famous women that was acid attacked, she now does the advert for the hair shampoo. I've forgotten her name. It's just got... Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So again, it happens across the world. It's not just in India. But of course, what we have in other countries is perhaps a better community network to help people that are acid attacked, where of course they don't in the villages in India. So there's a few of these. But and this lady, she was attacked by her mother-in-law. She had 3 daughters, couldn't bear a son, and 2 of the daughters died from the acid attack. This was the survivor. And they're now both working in the cafe, so they've got a life, they've got their independence. So our journey of lights was not all a journey of light, that's for sure. We saw both sides of the coin, if you like. And this was the guy who was a journalist, who then has now become a campaigner and an activist, and he's doing wonderful, wonderful stuff. And actually said to me at the end of it, I went up, had a conversation with him. He knows nothing about business. He hates business. He doesn't really want to be involved in business, and he's ended up running cafes to help the women get a life. So interesting how all our journeys change. The Red Fort is where the guy that built the Taj Mahal as a mausoleum, as a monument for his wife, ended up imprisoned by his son. And from his open plan bedroom, if you like, he could sit all day and watch the Taj Mahal and see where his wife was entombed. But he couldn't go there, but he could see it through the sort of open window. So that's how he spent his last days, because his son imprisoned him. So again, there's some horrific things happen in life. Do we know why he did that? Why did he imprison his father?
To gain power.
Oh, to gain power. Yeah, power. That's right. Yeah, killed his brothers, cut their heads off just for power. It's wealth. It's wealth and power. And it happens the world over, But of course, these are massive, beautiful, beautiful buildings. And the Taj Mahal, as much as it is chaotic, you can feel the love. It's palpable in the air. And if you get in the right place, the peace that just exudes from the building is phenomenal. Has anybody been to India? Yeah, some. Nepal, Tibet? Okay. If you get the chance to go, really go. I mean, it's just fabulous. This is the Taj Mahal again, views from the Red Fort. We had chipmunks running around. They were tame. People were earning money out of chipmunks. It was fascinating. And then we travelled to Nepal. We landed at Kathmandu, and we spent a lot of one day travelling. And the Orange Day, and this is the power of partnerships as the Orange Day. This was us waiting in the airport, where we waited for, felt like hours, for our luggage. And Stig, so the guy with the bald head, he was part of our trip, and he holds the record for holding his breath. He's a free diver. Does anybody know what the record is? And would anybody that doesn't know like to guess how long this guy can hold his breath for? 22 minutes. 22 minutes. And this guy also swims under the ice in just his trunks. So you know when people talk about mind over matter and controlling and all of those things that go on in us when we're out there doing stuff, 22 minutes he can hold his breath for. So his first job, because we went from sea level to sort of 2,000 feet and then we went up to 4,000 feet, was to teach quite a few of us, meters, was to teach quite a few of us actually how to breathe. Because I was absolutely gasping, I couldn't get the oxygen in, so he was teaching us actually how to breathe properly. Which again got me thinking about habits and how do we do what we do and where do we learn what we do and all of those sorts of things. And I think that's Katerina learning how to breathe. It's part of the process he was teaching us. No. We went in there and had a sort of a 2-hour talk on Buddhism and what it meant. And then we went into the yellow day, and this was the day that I really got my message. And the yellow day is about pearls of wisdom, well-being, clarity, common sense. It's also around identity. And about a year, maybe 16 months ago, I lost my identity completely. Something happened and I didn't know who I was, what I was doing, why I was on this planet. And this particular day, we started off this day in a monastery, in a university in a monastery. Was it this day? It was this day, wasn't it? Yes. It was, because this is when I got my message. It had to be this day. We started off with an hour-long talk from a female monk. And she just talked to us for an hour, just whatever she was talking about. And there were 2 words in the whole hour that really, really spoke to me, which gave me my identity back and gave me my purpose and my future for what I'm doing. So my message that I got out of this was, wherever we are, if we've got our ears open, our eyes open, we're truly listening, we will get messages that can change our future. So please, just keep your ears open, keep listening to what's happening, connect with the person that you meet, because everything happens for a reason. We went to, this was a stupa, and there are something like 84,000 stupas within the Buddhist remit. What did you say, Gillian? Philosophy. So there's 84,000 stupas. So this Nepal is the birthplace of Buddha, and it went out from Nepal into India, across into Asia. And they spread the relics around and built 84,000 stupas, and they are a place of meditation and worship. And some of them are phenomenally stunning. I mean, like you wouldn't believe. This was one, the picture, the flowers on the left, was just all round one of the stupas that we went to. Again, was this where, no, this wasn't where we had the talk, was it? Yes. Oh, this was where we had the talk. Oh, that's right. So the female monk was sat on the floor in front of this. Yes. Yeah. So we just sat and listened to a talk in there for an hour. Oh, there's us. And then we went outside, and Roger's doing what Roger does and talked to us for a while about what would we learn and what were we gaining, and explained things in detail. And then we went to, and this was a bit of a shock to the system, so we'd been to Shiro's, and then we went to a safe house for young women. So this is in Nepal. And this safe house could house, I think it was 16 young girls of any age. And basically 1 in 3 young women, young girls in Nepal is abused, either sexually, physically, mentally. So it's 1 in 3. And there's no community support. So this actual charity is on B1G1. For those of you that are on the platform, this is on there, if anybody wants to donate to it. And the rent for this house was £450 a month. So it wasn't particularly cheap. And that's all through charitable giving. And a lot of the girls were abused by their fathers. So we had quite a conversation in there about whether it was a cultural issue. This is a fabulous stupa. The bit in the middle, the picture in the middle, all of those flags are what are they called? Prayer flags, not prayer flags, wish flags. Prayer flags. Intention flags, that's it, intention flags. So each one of those flags has got an intention written on it and they get hung up. And we actually did that on one of our days. That was actually surrounded by, it was in a circle, it had shops all the way around it, and every one of those shops was like a very niche market. It was just beautiful and really peaceful, with rooftop bars and terraces and little hotels and things. But so peaceful, because outside of this was chaos and pandemonium and noise, and you're in this enclave with this stupa, prayer of place of meditation, and it's just so peaceful. And yet there's thousands of people about. Yep, some more. Oh, another temple, but this evening, the following day, we were flying and we had a fancy dress party. So the evening of this day, I went shopping with Gillian, was one of my, we run out to go shopping because we didn't have anything to wear. I didn't have anything to wear for the white night, which was the following day as a fancy dress, because you always get a fancy dress with Roger. Am I talking about this day? Hang on a minute.
Yes.
Am I talking about this day?
Yes.
Right, 1 minute.
Yes, you did. Yes, you are. Until the
Okay. Oh, is this the day we did the walk?
Yes.
Ah, right. So this day we went to it. So remember, we've now changed altitude. I am struggling to breathe, as a few of us are. I'm unfit. That, don't ever let yourself get like that. We're at 2,000 feet on this day, and we're doing meters. We walked up to one of the oldest temples that was still in existence, which was a phenomenal sight. You've got to walk up steps. Yeah. So what I will say about Nepal, in 2015, they had an earthquake, and it did a lot of damage. There are still piles of rubble in the road, and they're still rebuilding some of the houses, and I've never been to a place where people were so happy. Everybody was smiling, as they were in India, Nepal and Tibet, to be honest, but it was phenomenal. So we went up to the oldest temple, and then we came down from that, and we did a 2.5 hour hike. Yeah, it might have been for you. Certainly wasn't for me. We did a 2.5 hour hike. So this is the oldest temple. I'll just click through these. So this is the 2.5 hour hike, and we walked up through sort of villages, little houses. We walked up past kids and adults on swings, and we were having conversations, when I could actually physically talk, about how did any of you as kids used to play on the swings and you tried to loop the loop? I don't know, yeah, people, you stand up them and you're trying to go over the top and all the rest of it. And how actually you can't do it anymore because you're not allowed. And of course, the kids are still doing it in Nepal, and it flooded all these memories back. And we got up to the top. We had a bit of a break here. So Terry Billington, she's not anymore, she's Terry Vincent now, because she got married when we come back. Yeah, one of the Genius U mentors. She'd actually, on this trek, on this hike, she's got, I think she's asthmatic, she didn't have a breather with her. And she still did it. And I thought I was in a bad way. So again, another lesson learned. That was a massive spider web. On the right. Yeah, they were huge. Yeah, you would not have wanted to have walked through that in the dark. Stig made friends with all sorts of nature and wildlife on the trip. But of course it was there, and unless you stopped and looked, you didn't see it. So there were some phenomenal sights on this trip. as we were walking, and we were on a rise, we walked up a rise for about 2 hours. We were sort of walking alongside of the Himalayas. So if you looked out and across and up the Kathmandu Valley, the scenery was stunning if you stopped to look at it, which I did quite often because I was out of breath most of the time. The guys, we had lunch out, they came out and cooked, like on the left, and it was a restaurant quality menu, food. And then we went from there to, we flew from there to, this is us entering, is this Kathmandu? Is this still Kathmandu? Right, so now we've gone to 4,000 metres. So we, oh God, I know where I went. Oh, and this was the night that we had our white fright night, our white party. We had entertainment, we had, yeah, Katerina's laughing. You wait till you see what's coming up next. So we had a talk again from Roger. This was where Roger's bending time. He bent time and he told us how to do it. It was fascinating. So, whoop, oh!
Do you want to show your photographs of
Right, so there's a real story behind this.
There we go. Oh.
There is a real story behind this. I've been to India a couple of times before, and when I first went to India, Shiva, who is the destroyer within the Indian culture, followed me around, and I mean literally followed me around. I was given something, it was a picture of Shiva, and I tried to lose it and couldn't. Now, the son of Shiva, Shiva being the destroyer, the son of Shiva is Ganesha, which is the god of new beginnings. And everywhere I went, there was elephant. He takes the form of an elephant, his head. I got blessed by elephants. Elephants appeared everywhere I went. He was like in my face. So we went on Gillian's gone. We went on a shopping thing. The only thing I could find that was even anywhere near white was a bedspread. You have no idea. But the bedspread had Ganesha on it, and I had to buy it. It's now on my bed, so I'm sleeping under New Beginnings.
Yeah, but also Lord Ganesha is the god of clearing obstacles.
Yeah, and I've had a few.
So it's good protection.
Yeah. So there's me in my Lord Ganesha bedspread with my face painted, looking very attractive. And I learnt to tango in that. It was strange things happened, I tell you. And that's Roger. Oh, and there's Alex. Stunning trip, stunning trip. For all sorts of reasons and learnings and
I don't want the mic.
I could talk all night, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Right, I have to say that really the special thing for us was taking our 17-year-old son with us on the trip. I don't know if some of you came to the numerology talk at the last event, and the number 11 is supposed to be very spiritual, and he's actually number 11. And when we said, oh, you've got, you're spiritual, he said, oh, I'm not spiritual at all, because he does maths and science, so he sort of has to have everything that's logical. But when he came on this trip, he actually changed his mind, and he did understand spirituality a lot more. And he said, how can I go back to school and explain this to my school friends? And basically he just couldn't. So that was really special for Luca and I, just watching his development on the trip. And he was speaking with adults and having adult conversations, and it was just lovely just to see him develop. This is us going to the airport in, that was Kathmandu, and going to Tibet. And as you can see, they don't queue like we do in England. And it was just like a funnel. And we were just trying to get through one door, and it just took us ages to get through that door. And there's our son over there sort of catching up on sleep. There's some food. Right, this is Patala Palace. I am not very good at remembering facts, so I'm just going to read from my my notes here. It was built in the 7th century, and it was the winter palace of the Dalai Lama between the 1650 to 1950s. And we had to climb, as you can see over there, 432 steps. We couldn't breathe properly. And as you can see, we had to stop at certain parts in the journey. There's Julie there thinking, how am I going to get up the next 10 steps? Because we used to take like 10 steps at a time. And Luke is sort of thinking about it as well. And those women on the right-hand side, and I'm not being horrible, they look like they were 100 years old. And they managed to get up those steps with their paint pots and everything. And we just found it really difficult with the breathing. There's Roger and his mother just looking at us, and they're really fit, and they just did it with ease. There's us on the climb down looking a lot more relaxed and happier. I think Julie and I just wanted to sort of like be in our space, didn't we, and not talk to anybody. Those are, what are these, prayer wheels that the Tibetans use in their meditation. That's at the top of the Patala Palace. These are the oxygen canisters. They look like that big, and I think we needed them to be that big, but we just relied on those to help us breathe. That's the Hamilton family. There's Roger, his son Luke, and our son got on really well with him. They spent a lot of time together, and Kathleen and his mother. That's the Tibetans. There's a couple that got married. They seem to be sort of mesmerised by blonde hairs. They didn't care about me, but because I have dark hair. But they wanted to be photographed with everybody who had blonde hair. So I think that Karen, she sort of got quite a lot of photographs, didn't she? And I suppose you did as well, because you've got blonde hair. That's another palace that we visited. I can tell you about that. I think that's the Yohang Temple. It's the sacred and important temple in Tibet, holiest destination of all Tibetan pilgrims. Did I get that right? Yeah.
The Patala Palace, what was really interesting is that we had the sculptures of all the Dalai Lamas. Was it?
Yes, yes, that's right. Yes.
Some of them, the more
Can you
important
hear?
ones were.
No.
So in the Patala Palace, you have for every lama, I think all the 13 previous lamas, they would have golden statues made of solid gold, and some of them would be 3,000 kg or above 3,000 kg solid gold, and they had all the time been there, and nobody could actually get hold of them or take them away during the besieges when the towns were taken over by other kings, and then the wars were going on. So that was quite impressive.
That was impressive. When I went in the Patala Palace, I thought, oh, this doesn't look very dusty. And apparently they painted their faces with gold every day, so that sort of kept the dust off. Just you think about that when you sort of like, you look at your house. And another tuk-tuk. We had a day of shopping as well, an afternoon of shopping after we visited the Yohang Temple. And they raised their prices by 40%, and we were told to haggle down. I managed to get them down to 20%, but Alex, I thought I was really proud of myself until I spoke to Alex, and he got them down to cost. And he was told, don't bring your friends here, please, because I think they lost, didn't they? They lost money when you sort of brought something. There we go. This was the second to last day, and Roger and his other half, let's say goodbye. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Lovely.
See you soon. Thank you. You take care. See you soon. And don't worry about your weight. You look brilliant. Okay. Right, he's going. Yes, the second to last day. They were the following day. They were going to have an audience with the Dalai Lama, and so we sort of were in this bar, and we all had to talk individually about what experience we got, the experience that we had in in our journey. And some of us actually broke down because we were sort of overwhelmed with it, and it just makes you talk about things that you don't even think that you feel. And I did break down. I cried. And you share things with people that you sort of like quite personal, and it was lovely because everybody was just so supportive, and we were all in the same boat. And that was very moving as we were listening to everybody's stories and their feelings and what they got out of the trip. On the last, I think this is the last day, wasn't it? We woke up at like 6 a.m. again. I wanted to have a lay-in, but I thought I can't miss out on anything, so I have to make the most of it. We had a yoga session, and it's amazing how when you relax, how much better you feel. I woke up with a sort of bad headache and feeling really tired, and I really couldn't be bothered. But I went there, and we did a whole hour of yoga, which was completely different to the first day, that got us into positions, and we used muscles that we didn't even know that we had. I felt sort of the aches and pains afterwards, but this was really relaxing, and the headache went, felt really energised and just ready for the day. It was wonderful. And then we got into pairs, and they showed us how to use the singing bowls, along the chakras. And there's Julie with I've forgotten what her name is, but Angela. Okay. Oh, this. Oh, yes. Those are prayer flags, weren't they? Yes. That for me was a highlight of the holiday when we went to the Sera monastery, and it was called Sera because when they built the monastery, the hills behind were covered with wild roses, and so Sera means wild rose. And this is where we met the Tibetan monks. We went inside and listened to them chanting, and then we were blessed. They came and gave us, put a white scarf around us. That's pure for purity, these are our prayer flags, are they? And we had to write our intents on those, and then they were put on a pole. And that's me with a yak, and I thought, oh, I'm the chosen one, I'm special, he really likes me. And then I realised I had a banana in my bag, and it wasn't me at all, it was a banana. There's our son over there, and there's Luke, that's Roger's son and girlfriend. And as you can see, they all got on really well. What is this? Oh, Andy, he took about 1,000 photographs on the trip. He was just photographing everybody. And in the evening, the last evening, we finished with, we had a meal, but before that, we all had to line up in 2 lines and all hold a candle in silence. And then the candles were all lit, and we just basically passed the light around to each other, and that was really special. And then we had the yaks dancing and entertaining us. And before we finish, I just want to sort of share what I got out with it, and I wrote it down. We started at 500 meters, which is like the base chakras, and everything was comfortable. We arrived, we weren't tired, it was sunny, the food was brilliant and tasty. And then we moved up to higher altitudes, 2,700 feet in Nepal. And the thing that struck me when we did that walk up the mountains is that everybody approached it in a different way. Some people had to walk on their own, like Julie, and had to concentrate in silence. Other people admired the view and took it slowly and admired the insects. I know that's what you did, Luca. Other people just talked, and some of us raced ahead. And it really made me reflect on how we, in our lives, I just thought about what I did with my life, and I thought that's exactly what I do. I race ahead and I just quickly look at the view because I'm too busy. And I didn't sort of absorb it all. And it made me think that I really have to slow down. And I don't know if other people up that mountain, how they tackled walking up that mountain, whether that's how they are in their lives, but it did make me stop and think. Then we moved to Tibet, and we could hardly breathe, 3,700 feet. And that's where we're moving up the lighthouse, the levels of the lighthouse, and where we have to really lay our foundations. At 500 feet, we were very comfortable, but as we moved up and we got more and more tired because of what we were doing on the trip, we were getting up early, going to bed late, it got more difficult. And unless you lay those foundations, you're not going to be able to stay there. And when we went to Nepal, Potala Palace, the people that were really sort of fit, like Roger and his 78-year-old mother and Stig, the diver, they were able to get up those stairs, but we couldn't because we weren't prepared. And unless you're prepared in life, you're not going to be able to sustain that. You're just going to be a visitor in those places. And the last thing I want to share, and I wrote this down because I wrote it down all in a few minutes and I just wouldn't be able to repeat it, is we need others to help us on our journey, but equally others need us to help them on theirs. The people of India needed Gandhi to be their voice when it came to fighting for their independence, but Gandhi needed them just as much to make himself heard. The cafe, the journalist felt passionate about his cause to expose the perpetrators of the acid attacks, and he cannot have done this without the courage of the women involved who stood with him as much as he stood with them. The safe house was a voice for the young girls who had been exploited by people they had trusted, and it helped them to heal and believe in themselves. We need to collaborate with each other and work together on our individual strengths, and then magic happens and balance is created, which enables us to move forward. We are always chasing happiness in the wrong place. So we need to peel the layers of the onion and walk with our heads up high. At the top of the mountain and at the top of the stairs lays a beautiful soul within all of us. We just need to be brave and not fear the climb and believe in ourselves. Our minds, our bodies and our spirits will then become one, and that is when the magic happens and when we become who we were destined to be. And that's what I really got out of that. Thank you.